We're going to now move on and talk about how the report says that children think that gangs and drugs are major factors in driving violence. The YF report shows that children think that gangs and drugs are major factors, driving violence. Looking at the list that we've seen, do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Also, do you think there's any other factors that should be included in the list?
I agree that definitely gangs and drugs is a huge thing. I think with gang culture as well, there's a lot of principles to kind of go with. Like you'll see adults reacting to stuff like, oh, why did this happen? Over £20. Like, why did someone get stabbed to death? And obviously it sounds minute to obviously everyone else that doesn't understand that culture, but it's like, if you've been robbed by someone, that's like, you just don't want to be known as the person that can get bullied and robbed. So I think that drives huge violence because you don't want to be the quote-unquote joke man. You don't want to be someone that is an idiot. And then also with drugs, I feel like drugs can make you very desperate. Is in like very violent as well, depending on what drugs you take. So yeah, and I also believe something else that should be considered that does drive violence is I feel like the way people have been raised. So I feel like if you've grew up in a home with domestic abuse, it's quite normalised for you. I think some kids aren't going to be scared if they've been battered by the dad their whole life to have a fight in the street over something very small.
That's true. Any other points on that?
Yeah, I would say that the drivers that we saw, although they're easier to get from statistics, I would imagine that they're like the first layer of the drivers of violence, and the deeper layer, so to say, would be like something like poverty. That's what's causing people to go to gun violence, gang violence, and drugs, which is then going to violence.
Yeah, I would say I agree. I think they're all quite interlinked and one thing leads to another. So I think poverty and money is a huge conversation that we need to have a bit more than what we're currently doing. Like instead of like breaking it down into, okay, drugs, gangs, this and that, I think we should have like a common ground where everything else leads to. Because if you ask someone that might be in gangs, or if you ask anyone, why would you be involved in gangs or why would you deal with drugs, it's to make money. And why would you make money? Well, because I don't have money in my house. I come from a disadvantaged background. So all these little things lead to another. And I think poverty is a huge, if not to say, the main cause of all these problems. At least from my own personal experience, people that I know that have gone into dealing with drugs or just gangs in general. No one does it. Well, a lot of people do it because it might be like romanticized nowadays and it's cool. We've seen Top Boy, we've seen all these Summer House, all these cool gang shows. But again, main factor of these shows have been money. Why do you want to be a drug dealer? Well, I can make money. If I can make, £100 in a day, why would I, you know what I mean? So poverty is a huge thing.
I think the issue with poverty is sort of the ripple effect it has, because it starts when you're young, and you might see the elders on your block making money, and they look like you, so you think, if they can make money, so can I. And then you kind of go to them to learn how they make money, and they become your role model. You're kind of your mentor in the streets. And if you're living in a rough area, you always need someone to have your back, because you don't want to be by yourself in the jungle. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to be that lone wolf, because you'll get picked and you'll get targeted. So poverty has a huge effect. And also, not a lot of people want to sell drugs. I think we're forgetting that, but they might have to. If they're from a single parent household and they see their mother or their father struggling and they want to support, and they're too young to work legally, how else are they going to support their family? And then being forced to go into that world comes with a lot of stuff, like territory, revenge, money. There's so much different reasons why violence can occur once you're in that world, and sometimes you're forced to go into that world, which is a huge issue. So I just wanted to make that point.
I think when it comes to, why you're not living that life, it's a mindset and it's a lifestyle at the end of the day. It's when you ask someone, we all talk about breaking generational, curses and stuff like that. Like, I sometimes see certain people and ask myself, well, if you know this is your family situation, or if you know that this is where your family comes from and this is your background, why would you not want to better your life? They can't. They grow up in that environment and they think that's the only thing they can do, that's the best they can do, and that's their reality now. So it's really hard for them to just leave that life behind because it's all they know. Why would you stop that easy life? Well, it's not easy, but quote unquote easy lifestyle of sort of way of making money, and have to throw yourself into, I don't know, the corporate world, or having to then go into any normal job and have to pay taxes and have to find yourself a good place to live. You know what I mean? Like, this is what they know right now and this is their reality, and for them to let that go, it's really hard. It's just not, why don't you do it? It's like telling, might be extreme comparison, but it's like telling a woman that faces like violence at home and telling her, why don't you leave him? It's harder than that. It's more than that. It has deeper roots.